This story is getting a lot of attention. This is not an exaggeration. There is a new bill moving through the California State House that could see parents lose custody of their child if they refuse to acknowledge their child's chosen gender. The bill would give judges the right to consider a parent's rejection or non-affirmation of their child's gender as child abuse or child neglect.
Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. In today's episode, the Democrat Party is still targeting your children with these transgender surgeries. AOC loses her ish and is all up in arms over these Supreme Court decisions. And we have more migrant buses heading to Los Angeles. Before we jump into any of the details, support a true American patriot by hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave us a short, sweet comment down below. Head over to baldbrad.com, folks. Get yourself a t-shirt, a hoodie, custom shirts, and get yourself a Bald Brad Show mug, folks, with the logo on the front, the American flag on the back. A lot of you are drinking out of these now, so much so that now your wives are taking them from you. You got to get yourself a second mug. You can get that at baldbrad.com. And also, get yourself a signed copy. You can also get a non-signed copy on any of the links in the description below to our book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America, folks. It's written by yours truly. It's great copy for yourself to read, friend, family member, heck, Democrat or independent. Lord knows they need the truth. Get yourself a copy today. And lastly, most importantly, join us. Become a member to the Bald Brad channel. Hit that join tab right here, folks. We'll also put some links in the live chat as well as the comment section. We got an awesome community. I don't just hype up our community, but we got regulars here, folks, that know each other, that would love new members to join them in the live chat and the comment section. Become a true American patriot today by joining our membership. Well, jumping right into the news here, you got the Democrat Party still going after your kids, folks. They're relentless on this stuff. Democratic Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards has vetoed a bill that would have protected children from life-altering transgender surgeries and hormone procedures. Edwards vetoed the Stop Harming Our Kids Act, a bill that would have prohibited a wide range of transgender procedures on children, including giving girls who identify as boys double mastectomies. It would also have banned giving children cross-sex hormones and puberty blockers. Just as conservative courts have found in Alabama, Florida, Indiana, Kentucky, Arkansas, and Tennessee, I believe that there is no legitimate state interest and no rational basis that justifies harming this very small population of children, their families, and the health care who care for them, or for the cruel and extreme consequences imposed on children through the overt denial of health care by this bill, Edwards claimed in the letter to Louisiana House Speaker Clay Schnatter explaining his veto. He claimed that the law would be a violation of the 14th Amendment and claimed that lawmakers believing in limited government should not support the bill, which is characterized as a targeted assault on children. You got to love how he's utilizing the 14th Amendment, but also kind of going, oh, well, if you believe in limited government, which obviously a lot of conservative Republicans do, then he goes, well, you'd be for this veto. You wouldn't want this instituted. The thing is that, yes, we are for limited government. We don't want government to encroach in our lives. But when you have the government enabling the castration of children, that seems a little bit wrong, and I'd like to think that somebody would step up here and say, hey, maybe we should stop doing this. And one of those forms is, yeah, you would think that you'd have the doctor stepping up going, yeah, this is a little bit crazy, we shouldn't do it. But at the other end of the spectrum, maybe the government saying, hey, it should be illegal to do this, in the same way it's illegal to abuse your children, but when you want to lop off their breasts, their genitals, all of a sudden that's okay to the Democrat Party. It's head spinning. I don't understand it, but hell, they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. Despite the governor's veto, the bill could still have a path forward, as there is supermajority of Republicans in the state's House and Senate. The bill passed the Senate by a vote of 29-10 and the House by a vote of 75-25. A Republican state senator previously held up the bill in a committee before it was moved to another committee where it advanced. Initially, Republican State Senator Fred Mills joined Democrats in a 5-4 vote on the Health and Welfare Committee to block the advancement of the bill. Edwards reportedly pressured lawmakers in the committee to kill the bill. Roughly 20 states have passed bans on life-altering transgender procedures on children, including Kentucky, which is also governed by a Democrat. The Republican legislature was able to override his veto before portions of the law were just blocked by a federal judge. And look, yes, you have conservative states that are moving forward with doing good on not harming your children and not allowing this stuff to happen, but you have these Democrats that will go hell-bent on doing it, which is why, and I don't know how I missed this, this happened June 10th, there was a newly amended California bill which could punish parents for refusing to affirm child's gender identity. I don't know how this one slipped through the cracks on me, folks. I apologize, but we're bringing awareness to it now. A California state bill was recently amended so that parents in custody battles may be liable for child abuse if they do not affirm their gender identity of their children. Look, we've said this years ago that this would happen. I mean, the next step here, I could see in the next 10 years, the government literally coming to your doorstep and removing your children from your house and from your arms if you don't affirm their identity. So if you got a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old going, I'm a boy, when in actuality they're a biological girl, and you don't affirm that, well, see you later. Your kids, not only is your kids wrong, but hell, maybe you'll wind up somewhere in jail or some sort of court battle with everything. This is wild, folks. I mean, you're going to see a lot of pushback if something like that happens. AB 957, which passed in the state assembly on May 3rd, originally proposed that courts deciding custody cases must consider whether each parent were gender affirming of the child in question. You get into a situation, we've kind of actually seen court cases like this, where you have two people battling for custody, right? You have the woke lib mom that's pushing this whole gender identity, saying, oh, you're a boy when in actuality you're a girl. You got the father that has his head on straight going, whoa, no, I don't think so. That's probably a conservative Republican, getting things straight, paying the bills, doing whatever he can to support his family. And again, you got the woke mom over there. So when the woke mom, the woke lib gets the child, she's going to indoctrinate that kid on critical race theory. You know, everything's racist. Oh, you're a boy when in actuality you're a girl. You know, wearing boy clothes to school, whatever it may be. That person, the psycho, is going to get control of the kid, which sounds like a little bit of form of a child abuse in my mind. Whereas the one with his head on straight going, whoa, first of all, no, you're a biological girl. You're going to be treated like a girl. You can decide your gender and all that fun stuff for yourself when you're 18 or older. That guy doesn't get custody, but the psycho does. That we've seen it. It has happened before. Just continues to get wild here. Check this out. The amendment has added to the state standard of what constitutes parental responsibility for child welfare, requiring that parents must be affirming of a child's gender identity if they are to be judged fit for providing for the health, safety, and welfare of the child. It's just, oh God. Oh, God, I guess children know best, you guys. That's where the Democrat Party, I mean, that's why they put Greta Thunberg up front. Remember that girl that's like, screw you, Joe. Screw you guys. You don't care. We're all going to die in 30 minutes. You know, that girl is up there always screaming about climate change. Now she's not chauffeured out because she's not a youth anymore. I'm telling you, the Democrats, progressive left folks, they love themselves some children. Look at Joe Biden. Okay, look at the Democrat Party going after your kids, grooming them, wanting them to view adults naked at these pride events and doing these drag shows in front of them. Now you give your child lunch money, and then after school they're going to this event you know nothing about, where this guy's dressed up as a girl, showing their private parts everywhere, and they're tipping your hard-earned money that they're supposed to use for lunch into the thong of that person. We've shown clips on the show, folks. It's all real. So if the newly amended bill were to go into law, parents would not affirm this new standard of health and safety for their children, may be found liable for child abuse and have their young one removed from their home. They're coming for them, folks. I'm telling you, this is the whole plan of the Democrat Party here. Critics of this amended bill claim that it could open the door for legally declare non-affirmation of a child's gender identity, child abuse across the board. Democrat Assembly member Lori Wilson wrote the original bill along with Senator Scott Weiner, or Weiner. I don't know if it's Weiner, V5 Minor, who also co-sponsored it. The bill was introduced into the legislative body last February. You're going to see a battle here with this stuff, folks. This is wild. They are coming for your children. They're not going to stop. And clearly they think that children are able to comprehend all these things. But at the same time, you know, they're not going to allow them to drive a vehicle, not going to allow them to take out a student loan or auto loan or a mortgage or do all these things, not sign contracts, but they can do something as important as understanding who they actually are. So if you have a biological boy and he thinks that he's a girl at the age of 2 years old, you have to affirm that. And if you don't, folks, well, there goes your child and there goes your custody. Let me know what you think about that one in the comment section below. We got AOC, folks, floating subpoenas now about and against Supreme Court Justice Roberts. Folks, just because she doesn't get her way, now she has to throw a temper tantrum. This is the same lady that fabricated photos at the U.S.-Mexico border, if you recall. This is the same lady that was prior a bartender and somehow made her qualified to become a representative of Congress, which is just mind-blowing to me. Mind-blowing. You got people out there that just, this ain't working, that are somehow making some serious decisions for the Americans. How does she get voted in? Like, who are these people that are voting her in? That's what I want to know. So AOC suggested Congress should consider using subpoena power to force Supreme Court Justice John Roberts to testify before lawmakers about ethics issues. Really? She's going to go after that dude for ethics issues? AOC? The Democrat-controlled Senate Judiciary Committee is beginning the process of investigating the entanglements and conflicts of interest, the Congresswoman said during an interview with CNN that aired Sunday. We'll watch it, folks, in 1 minute, but it's interesting how they want to go after Supreme Court justices now and look at the entanglements, look at the conflicts of interest, but they don't want to look under the hood on Joe Biden and his conflicts of interest, right? And when somebody does look under the hood for his conflicts of interest, U.S. policy making with Burisma and the natural gas company getting in the U.S. markets, Joe Biden's on air saying, hey, you know what? You're not going to get $1 billion loan unless you fire that guy, unless you fire Shokin. Even though he's done nothing wrong, I want the guy fired. You know, a little bit of a quid pro quo there. You got AOC now here, the one that wants to fabricate stories. She wants to go in there and target conservatives all the time. She wants to sit there and go to the U.S.-Mexico border and say kids are drinking out of the toilet when they're not. You know, this chronic liar, this freaking manipulator is on CNN pushing this stuff. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Do that. How are you proposing a law or a bill?
There's several ways. First, we have a Senate Judiciary Committee that is beginning the process of investigating the entanglements and conflicts of interest. Just 1 to 2 weeks before the student loan ruling, the country learned that Justice Samuel Alito was accepting gifts from billionaires who were lobbying against Supreme Court that were lobbying before the Supreme Court against student loan forgiveness. Just weeks before, we learned that he was accepting gifts from them and travel and vacations from them before he decided to vote and rule in their favor. And so I believe that if Chief Justice Roberts will not come before Congress for an investigation voluntarily, I believe that we should be considering subpoenas. We should be considering investigations. We must pass much more binding and stringent ethics guidelines where we see members of the Supreme Court potentially breaking the law, as we saw in the refusal, with Clarence Thomas to recuse himself from cases implicating his wife in January 6th. There also must be impeachment on the table. We have a broad level of tools to deal with misconduct, overreach, and abuse of power. And the Supreme Court has not been receiving the adequate oversight necessary in order to preserve their own legitimacy. And in the process, they themselves have been destroying the legitimacy of the court, which is profoundly dangerous for our entire democracy.
Oh, man, she's such a drama queen, isn't she, folks? I believe that if Chief John Roberts will not come before Congress for an investigation voluntarily, I believe that we should be considering subpoenas. I'm sure you are, lady. I'm sure you are, you little psycho. The Senate Judiciary Committee asked Roberts to testify about Supreme Court ethics and potential reforms for a hearing in early May, but the Chief Justice declined the invitation. At the time, yet Feinstein was on medical leave while recovering from shingles, leaving Democrats with a majority on the panel that could overcome GOP opposition if there was a vote on the subpoena. However, Feinstein has since returned to the Capitol Hill. Folks, and it's nothing against her. I mean, she is in some serious, terrible medical condition. She needs to step away. This ain't working in the same way Joe's isn't working. She might be better, or she might be worse off than Joe. I don't know. But what is up with Democrats constantly having people stay in their positions that are not mentally fit to hold office? Fetterman, which we just did a video and a short the other day with Joe Biden and Fetterman on the same stage, can you get more representative of the Democrat Party and where they're at nowadays? Well, AOC, who cited concerns centered on conservative Justice Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, said Congress must pass much more binding and stringent ethic guidelines. Why is that? Because they don't like the way the court's deciding decisions. It goes against their racist views. That's why they want affirmative action. Screw the Asians, screw the whites, and some Hispanics. That's basically what they want to do. I mean, hell, we did a whole episode where MSNBC was losing their crap going, well, blacks can't compete with other races, which is an insane and racist argument. I don't think that's the case in any aspect. Everybody can compete with everybody just because the color of your skin. How does that, I don't get it. How does this color, any color that you have on your skin, the amount of tan or black or white or whatever you want to call it, peach, I don't care. What does that have to do with anything? I don't get it. But somehow the Democrats have always loved race since the inception of their party. They've been always about race. There must be an impeachment on the table, she added. We have a broad level of tools to deal with misconduct, overreach, and abuse of power, and the Supreme Court has not been receiving the adequate oversight necessary in order to preserve their own legitimacy. Look, I don't agree with everything the Supreme Court does and rules on, but geez Louise, lady, simmer down a little bit, you psycho. And in the process, they themselves have been destroying the legitimacy of the court, which is profoundly dangerous to our entire democracy. Look, these are the same people that say Republicans and conservatives are a threat to democracy. You know, the MAGA supporters, the extremists, all these. She's one of the craziest people, folks, in Congress. She's a manipulator. She's very good at politics. She really is. She just bats her eyes a few times and people go, oh, okay. Look, she's pretty, folks, but she's psycho. She is a crazy woman. AOC also discussed reining in the power held by the 9 justices, including the prospect of expanding the court. Luckily, look, I didn't cover this on the show, but this was asked to Karine Jean-Pierre this past week of, hey, you know, the Supreme Court's not basically ruling in the way that Democrats in the Biden administration want. If the Supreme Court is so wrong, is Joe Biden thinking about expanding the courts? And we actually got an answer, a clear one from Karine Jean-Pierre. She said no. Biden doesn't want to do that, so that's a good thing. I don't think you should continually keep expanding the courts. It's a never-ending theme, in my opinion. You know, so you guys, Biden that wants to maybe send it to 9, let's just say theoretically. Then the next guy is going to send it to 11, which is a Republican, and it's just so on and so forth. It's a revolving menu. It's a revolving door, basically. So, including the prospect of expanding the court following a series of conservative victories over the past year in rulings focused on abortion cases, religious freedom, affirmative action, and President Joe Biden's student debt plan, the courts, if they were to proceed without any check in their power, without any balance of their power, they will start to see an undemocratic and frankly dangerous authoritarian expansion of power in the Supreme Court, AOC said. Adding, which is what we are seeing now for the overturning of abortion rights to the ruling that discrimination and frankly stripping the full personhood and dignity of the LGBTQ people in the United States. Oh, okay. All right, lady. So she says a bunch of nonsense, which is typical from AOC, but let me know what you think about it in the comment section below, folks. One, do you think the Supreme Court should be expanded? Do you think it should go from, 7 to 9, or 9 to 11, or 11 to 13? Let me know in the comment section below, and also let me know if AOC's off a rocker. I'd really love to know your take on that one. To end this episode off today, folks, we got another bus from Texas transporting dozens of illegal immigrants to the sanctuary city of Los Angeles. They're getting what they wanted. A bus carrying 41 illegal immigrants arrived in the self-described sanctuary city of Los Angeles on Saturday from the Lone Star State, the second in 3 weeks, according to multiple reports. The 41 migrants were from Colombia, Brazil, Cuba, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Mexico, and Guatemala. Officials said they were dropped off downtown at Union Station at 12:40 p.m. and subsequently taken to St. Anthony's Croatian Church, where they received a legal briefing and were welcomed by the LA Welcomes Collective, a local coalition of nonprofits and activist groups. It is not clear who organized the bus trip, but Governors Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis have recently acknowledged sending illegal immigrants to California. I'm sure Doug Ducey's a part of that of Arizona, but not listed in this article. Quote, we are still putting together all the details about this group of asylum seekers on the Brownsville bus, but if Los Angeles is their last destination, we will ensure this is the place where they get a genuine and humane reception. The executive director of the Coalition of Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles. Jeez, what a name is that? Los Angeles Democratic Mayor Karen Bass, she's also kind of off her rocker, says the city began working with the Welcome Collective and government departments to prepare for the bus's arrival when officials learned of its journey, but insist her office was never formally informed. Bass tweeted on Saturday that LA believes in treating everyone with respect and dignity and will do so unless you go against their narratives. Then they won't do that. If you're a conservative Republican, they're not willing to treat you with respect and dignity. Not whatsoever. I mean, California has gone so far left it is head spinning. The point where literally they want to castrate your children, and if you don't agree with their gender, now they're going to come knocking on your door and remove your children. If you need to see that segment of today's episode, I highly recommend you go back about 5-10 minutes, because that one is a doozy. They're coming for your children. They want to groom your children in the school system. They want to groom your children online. They want to groom your children in movies. They want to groom your children in cartoons, in books. I mean, everywhere they want to sit there and go after your children, folks. And now if you don't comply with that, the state's going to come and remove your children from your household. I hope you're ready for that, because that's coming to a state near you. First California, and then it snowballs out, folks. In early June, the LA City Council voted to codify existing policies making LA a sanctuary and illegal immigrants. The motion also prohibited city resources from being used for federal immigration enforcement, the LA Times reported. The state of California was already considered a sanctuary state. You had places like also New York that were sanctuary states as well. And, well, let's just say that they are getting bamboozled over there. Also Chicago. On June 14th, Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott sent a bus of approximately 40 illegal immigrants to LA, prompting condemnation from Bass. At the time, Abbott cited the city's status as sanctuary. Texas' small border towns remain overwhelmed and overrun by thousands of people illegally crossing into Texas from Mexico because of President Biden's refusal to secure the border. You have Lauren Boebert putting in impeachment papers in the House, and I think rightfully so, for his dereliction of duty. He's not willing to enforce and execute the laws that are on the books. One of the main things is to protect our border, so there's people that don't come into this country that are trying to harm you or your family or an average American citizen, but he doesn't want to do that. He wants to have terrorists pour across the border. He wants to have sleeper cells in this country in the hundreds. He wants to have the fentanyl, the sex traffickers, the violent gang members pouring across the border, or not even pouring across the border at times, staying in their home country, making billions of dollars. Joe Biden has created a multi-faceted billion upon billion dollar industry, and nobody wants to bring awareness to the fact that he's sitting there basically emphasizing and exacerbating an issue at the U.S.-Mexico border, not just with illegal immigrants, but again with the drugs, with the sex trafficking and all that stuff. Should we be shocked the Democrat Party wants to exacerbate sex trafficking? Should we be shocked the Democrat Party doesn't care about little girls being raped up to words of like 60 different men? I mean, that's what happened, right? I mean, that is what's happening. If they thought that was an issue, they would seal up the border. They would allow people to come in legally through the correct paperwork and figure this whole thing out, but they don't. And so in the same way, they want to target your children at school and in the media and everywhere else. They want to sit there and groom them and show naked images of them and pornographic images, teach them how to use butt plugs and show them how to give blowjobs at a third grade level in the school system, which sounds like it's satire, but it really is happening. And for some reason, the progressives and these libs don't want to, they think it's all fictitious. It's not real, even though you could show them the evidence of it, the cartoons, the booklets that are in the school libraries, what some teachers are saying in the classroom on the recordings, the drag queen shows that are going on where they're stripping down naked in front of children, the pride events where they're saying, hey, we're coming for your children. I mean, you can show them everything till you're blue in the face and they still won't believe it, which is head spinning within itself. But hell, we're talking about the woke libs here. You have this stuff taking place where they're targeting children left and right, and they're not going to stop, folks. And that's why I ask you to become a member today, because that's not what we're going to do here on the Bald Brad Show. We're going to bring awareness to these issues and hopefully give you the truth and just give you what the articles and what the news out there are saying. Become a member today, folks. You know where your money is going here. It's going into the hands of a true American patriot that supports your ideas, supports your kids, and wants the best for you and wants the best for America. Also, head over to baldbrad.com. Get yourself a mug, a t-shirt. It's all there for you, folks. And lastly, would love your support on our book, Trojan Horse, How the Left Destroyed America, written by yours truly, Brad Roberts, folks. It's a great book. A lot of you enjoying it. Some of you are already asking for a part 2. Simmer down, okay? I saw that in the comments section. Simmer down for it. You guys want a part 2? Maybe. I mean, what would it be called? Trojan Horse Part 2? I don't know. Or Trojan Horse, How the Left Continues to Destroy America? I would love to write a part 2 or a sequel to the book. I mean, there's a lot of material out there, folks. A lot of corruption from the Democrats. A lot of corruption from these politicians. Would love to write another book. We have ideas, folks. The ideas are not running out. We got full research completed on. I would love to do kind of a historical book. Mao's destruction and Mao's just complete destruction of Chinese people, man. I mean, that's just head spinning. With the Cultural Revolution, you have Great Leap Forward, all those policies that he implemented that just killed about 45 million people. There's a lot of things I want to write about. Obviously, the education system. I would love to do a finance book. A lot of people have asked me for a finance book. Actually, many of you may or may not know, as an accountant myself, I'm not saying I know everything, but personal finance. I know well enough to definitely write a personal finance book. I taught finance for a lot of years, personal finance for a lot of years. So I still give financial advice. Not paid though, folks. We're not breaking any laws here. But anyways, folks, just to let you know, I'd like Sundays kind of be. I was kind of thinking about it before recording it. You know, what should Sundays be about? 'Cause, you know, Monday through Friday we have the Bald Brad Show. That's self-evident. That is you know, breaking news, world news, U.S. news, conservative commentary, reaction stuff. And then obviously we have Supernatural Saturdays on Saturdays. I'm like, what could Sunday be? And Sunday, you know, is a sprinkling of politics. It's kind of a day off for me to have some fun with all of you, even though this episode, you know, 25 minutes roughly. But I'd like to be a day of, you know, finding articles where they didn't necessarily make the main show. So some of these articles you might have heard of before, you're aware, but, you know, finding that one in California that I just, somehow missed, where the newly amended bill would have, I guess, child services come banging on your door and remove your children. Like, I don't know how that seeped through. I don't know how that got past me, but just kind of filling in those gaps and just bringing the news. So hopefully you're on board with that. Again, become a member today. Would love for you to join. We are growing here. Man, we are growing. With that being said, hit that like and subscribe button. Leave us a comment down below. And folks, I'll see you tomorrow here on The Bald Brad Show.